Hello, hello, hello. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, hello, hello. Hopefully you can hear me now. All right. Well, again, sorry about that. This is the first episode of the Daily Sit Down with Joel. What we're going to do first is we're going to go ahead and jump onto PBS News and we're going to read, a couple headlines, maybe a few articles, just kind of see what's going on in the world. The next, we'll go into what's called garden talk. We'll just kind of discuss like what's going on in my garden and some things that I'm doing to try to help it grow and get better, and things that you could also probably that would help you in your garden. Followed with that is the pet corner. We'll talk about pet care, wellness, and health, things like that. And then we'll wrap it up with just whatever's on our mind. We'll kind of talk about books, podcasts, just wrap up what everything is, and then we'll just set up the next episode. Yeah. So let's go ahead and get started, and we'll check out PBS News. Now, I don't have access to what I am seeing on the camera, like what you guys are seeing on the camera, because I'm currently on the PBS News site. And so just bear with me a little bit. I do appreciate it. Give me a few seconds too as well. I'm just there we go. I now have something that will show me what's going on. There we go. So now we are going to check out this top article here, which is immigration raid protests spread to more cities as Trump threatens additional deployments. Let's go ahead and take a look at that. So, a curfew in downtown Los Angeles remains in effect, and more than 350 protesters have been arrested there since this weekend. The National Guard has said some troops may be deployed with immigration agents as well. Special correspondent Marcia Biggs reports from Los Angeles. Okay, so here's the full transcript. So we got Jeff Bennett. Welcome to the News Hour. A curfew in downtown Los Angeles remains in effect tonight, and hundreds of anti-ICE protesters have been arrested in Los Angeles and multiple cities this week. The National Guard said that more troops could be deployed with immigration agents as they continue their pursuit of undocumented immigrants. I apologize. So it looks like they're talking about the riots or the protests or the things that are going on in California, and they've got some states here. So Los Angeles mayor, so this is Amna Nawaz who says this. Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass and more than 24 other Californian mayors ask for President Trump to end the sweeping immigration raids. But today they continued in California, Pennsylvania, and Louisiana, among other places. In Chicago, Mayor Brandon Johnson called President Trump a tyrant and an authoritarian. So it looks like they're not happy with him, and with all due good cause. The president's team defended his approach and warned that guard troops could be deployed to their cities. Special correspondent Marcia Biggs continues our coverage tonight with this report. So again, we're reading directly from the PBS website. So if you want to read along with me, you can go to their website. It's the first article that's available for you. So this is Marcia Biggs that says this next. From Atlanta to New York, where more than 80 people were arrested, and Chicago, where police clashed with demonstrators and several more were detained, to Texas, where people pinned protesters to the ground, and Governor Greg Abbott said he would deploy the National Guard ahead of a planned protest in San Antonio. Across the country, anti-ICE protesters gathered in the streets in solidarity with those in Los Angeles. Yesterday in LA, protesters continued marching against ongoing immigration raids, and the city's mayor, Karen Bass, declared a curfew for parts of downtown beginning at 8 p.m. For those who are joining, we're reading PBS. Last night, California Governor Gavin Newsom again condemned the administration's decision to send in the National Guard and the Marines. Okay, so this next quote is going to come from Governor Gavin Newsom. This brazen abuse of power by a sitting president inflamed a combustible situation, putting our people, our officers, and even our National Guard at risk. California may be first, but it clearly will not end here. Other states are next. Okay? Democracy is next. Democracy is under assault before our eyes. This moment we have feared has arrived. Again, that was Governor Gavin Newsom. Okay, and so this next quote is going to be from Marcia Biggs. And yesterday at Fort Bragg, President Trump claimed the protesters were paid insurrectionists. Donald Trump, President of the United States, these are animals. But they proudly carry the flags of other countries, but they don't carry the American flag. So they don't carry the U.S. flag. They are carrying American flags, just FYI. They only burn it. They're burning U.S. flags. They're not burning American flags. We will not allow an American city to be invaded and conquered by a foreign enemy, and that's what they are. A lot of these people were let in here by the Biden administration. He always seems to like keep putting shit back on to like the Biden administration and things like that. These people, like the immigration thing has been so long. I'm from Arizona. We had DACA protests and stuff here, and like they had those in California. It goes so much further back than just that. He's being facetious with his statements, and it's very clear. So the next one is going to be Marcia Biggs. He vowed to keep the troops in L.A., quote, until there's peace. So downtown L.A. vape and smoke shop owner Tony, who refused to give his last name, said he defended his business with pepper spray on Monday night after seeing looters breaking into neighboring stores. Okay? So Tony, Los Angeles business owner, this is the guy she was quoting. I'm an immigrant myself. I'm from Lebanon. I'm half Armenian, and I have been here for 10 years. And I would never do something like that to another business. Destroying businesses and making us spend thousands of dollars boarding up businesses is not fair to us. What's also not fair is federal agents coming to people's places of work, taking them, and then, so it's like, deal with it. There's bigger things at stake than your business. I'm sorry. Get over it. I don't care. Marcia Biggs. He supports having the National Guard on the streets to protect businesses. Tony. Where the protests are happening, it is peaceful, like at the building and stuff like that. But usually, like at night, late hours, people are starting to start looting. I don't know if they were protesters or they're just taking advantage of the chaos and that it's creating. It's most likely the latter, sir. It's most likely the latter. There's always going to be opportunists. Always. They're always going to try to take advantage of a situation and see, think of Littlefinger from Game of Thrones, right? So Marcia Biggs. But last night, the curfew and heavy police presence seemed to keep looters at bay across downtown. Lifelong Angelino Sarah Rascon says looting and violence are a small part of what's happened in recent days. Okay. So Sarah Rascon, Los Angeles resident. It's unfortunate that's what's highly televised and not what's happening. 99% of us are here for peaceful protests and demonstrations, and they taint the movement. And I agree, because I've been watching them all week. They've been peaceful. The only time that I see anything bad is when the police are right there, and it's usually them doing some weird stuff to try to keep it going. You know what I mean? So Marcia Biggs, she says here to show support for the city's immigrants. Okay, and then here's Sarah Rascon. I am here for all the abuelitas. I totally mispronounced that. I apologize. All the people who are afraid, those that have been working for our communities, those who make up our economy, those who are doing the breaking work and can't be here. I like that. And anybody who's oh, why don't they have jobs and stuff? They probably scheduled time off. Let's be honest. They probably saved up their vacation days and their time off, and they used it for this. In nearby Glendale, the city this week terminated. This is Marcia Biggs again. In nearby Glendale, the city this week terminated a long-standing contract that allowed ICE to use its jail to temporarily hold undocumented immigrants. Era Najarian, I totally mispronounced that, Najarian, for anybody who knows how to pronounce that. I do apologize. Mayor of Glendale, California, Here we are in Glendale offering them much more than a cold basement. We're offering them a clean, safe place where they can collect their thoughts, take care of their affairs, speak to attorneys, be fed, be washed, clean up, and we're taking that away from them. Pretty much. Uh, Marcia Biggs. Ara Narjian is Glendale's mayor. So that's who we're speaking about. This is Ara again. We clearly saw that we were on the target list, and that made us very uncomfortable. As the leaders of Glendale, our primary goal is to keep our residents safe, our businesses safe, our property safe. We felt that continuing to have that contract, even though we felt we were doing nothing wrong and were being very humane in the process, would lead to the type of protests, the same type that we see in downtown LA, to come to Glendale. Okay. Marcia Biggs. Najaran said that the decision was difficult. Immigrants' rights advocates praised the move. But the Department of Homeland Security said Glendale was standing with, quote, criminal illegal aliens over American citizens. Again, U.S. citizens, not American citizens, U.S. citizens. Mexicans are American citizens. Mexico is America. Canada is America. The U.S. is America. All three countries are American countries. Okay, so this is Ara Najaran again. I really take offense at the characterization that I stand with illegal aliens and criminals. I believe that we should enforce our immigration laws. Okay, so now she's just doing PR. I think when you're discussing these issues, they are very nuanced. Not really, not so much. We just try to make it that way because we're afraid of backlash. It's not just black or white. Yeah, true. That's gray. We don't want to be an oppressive authoritarian city. We have a city of 50% immigrants. I don't know how to tell you this, guys, but if you are a government, you already are an oppressive authoritarian. Like, it is what it is. My parents are immigrants. Most of my family are immigrants from Armenia. We have got a huge Armenian population here, Korean, Latino, Central American. We don't want to be the big bad guy. But we saw that we were giving an opportunity for respite along this process that now those detainees do not have. Okay, so Marcia Biggs. Back in LA last night, thousands attended a vigil with faith leaders. Reverend Jamie Edwards Action was in the crowd. Okay, so we have Reverend Jamie Edward Action, St. Stephen's Episcopal Church. Again, we're reading PBS News, by the way, if anybody's stopping by or anything like that and viewing or liking and stuff like that. We are watching, reading from PBS News. So this is Reverend Jamie Edward Action. And if you're a daughter or son and your father was taken away, you're not just going to be grieving. You're going to be angry, right? You're going to be angry and you want justice. And so you're going to make that known. And so you're going to shout. You're going to scream and you're going to yell at people. Agreed. But it's very few that take it beyond that, right? And so, and we're here to try to show that the alternative, right? That nonviolent alternative. Okay, so it looks like he's just trying to say that, like, yeah, people are angry. People are going to get mad. People are going to, want to throw things and shout and do all that stuff. And there is nonviolent alternatives, which the people are doing, and it's the federal agents that are inciting further problems. The crowd then marched to the federal complex nearby, where the National Guard stood watch. This is Marcia Biggs again. Like in previous nights, we were some tense moments outside the federal complex. Here, police had to block roads and even fired rubber bullets to disperse the crowd. This is not a sentence that we should be okay with. The crowd eventually thinned. Protesters are back at it again today, but after a calmer night, there are some small signs of a return to normalcy, with crews even out trying to clean up the graffiti in the area. Those crews that you're seeing cleaning up graffiti, those are protesters, by the way. I'm pretty sure I've seen videos of protesters cleaning up graffiti. So, like, but all of this happening as we hear reports today of more ICE raids in various parts of the city. Amna. Okay. So now we're on Amna Nawaz. Marcia Biggs reporting for us from Los Angeles tonight once again. Marcia, thank you. Well, for more now on how lawmakers view, so it looks like they're getting ready to set up their next thing here. And I think we'll go ahead and just end our PBS read there because I feel like we've been going for a while now, and it was a lot longer than I expected this particular segment of the show to be. But all good stuff. Yeah, definitely keep up on PBS News. Keep your eyes on the protests, and protect people. Protect the people, not like the cops, not any of that. Protect the people. But now we are going to move on to the garden talk, and we're going to talk about gardening. So, the garden talk's topic of today is going to be how much water is too much water. All right, so too much water is like how much should I be watering my garden? You know, am I watering it too much? Things like that. According to the University of Minnesota Extension, most veggies need about 1 to 1.5 inches of water per week, depending on weather, soil, and plant maturity. So double check like the climate zone you're in, and see exactly how much water you should be providing for your plants. So in my garden, I have cucumbers, right? So cucumbers love consistent moisture. Its uneven watering can cause bitterness and misshapen fruit, which is something we don't want. We want to make sure it's growing and being what we want it to be. And so we want to aim for 1 inch per week, right? But increase to 1.5 to 2 inches during fruiting. So we are going to increase the water while it's fruiting. Because the water needs the fruit needs the water in order to continue to grow. So water deeply when you do water it, and at the base. So you want to avoid the overhead splashes to prevent powdery mildew. If you end up overhead watering, I just recommend like shaking the leaves to try to get as much water off of them and like let it go all the way down to the soil, because that's what you want to water, the soil, not the plants. Okay. So also make sure you mulch heavily around the cucumbers, as it keeps the roots cool and it holds moisture for them. It's very, very good for them. So the next is going to be tomatoes, which they are so dramatic about water. It's not even funny. They are typically stick to about 1.5 inches per week, but water deeply and less frequently, like 2 to 3 times a week max. Again, unless your climate requires more frequent waters or more water in general. Okay, so tomatoes do hate wet feet, though, so allow the soil to dry between waterings. So I live in Arizona. They dry pretty fast, so I can water a little bit more often, but I also use a moisture meter, so I can keep an eye on where the water levels are in my soil. This source, like if you have any questions, there's UC Davis Agriculture and Natural Resources. There's a website you can go to. Just Google US Davis Agriculture and Natural Resources and you'll find it. Pro tip, use drip irrigation or a soaker hose at ground level to avoid blight and leaf diseases. Okay, so make sure you're watering again at the base, because you don't want to water the plant. You want to water the soil, which feeds the plant. Okay, so watermelon needs lots of water early on, about 1.5 to 2 inches per week, while growing vines and fruit. Okay, so make sure you're getting watermelon lots of water. There's a reason it's called watermelon. Okay, and then we're gonna cut back slightly once fruit sets to boost sugar content. Right. So once we see the fruit coming, we want to bring it back a little bit, so that way we get a sweeter fruit, not a bitter fruit. Water deeply. Again, as you notice, everything I'm saying is you're going to water deeply, right? Once about every 5 days, depending on soil type and climate. Pro tip, water in the mornings, not evenings, to reduce fungal risk and give leaves time to dry. And this, by the way, is all stuff that I've researched for specifically the daily Sitdown. And I've started applying it to my garden too. So the next is going to be zucchinis. Okay, so zucchinis need about 1 to 1.5 inches per week. But like tomatoes, zucchinis does better with deep soakings a few times per week. Okay, they are fast growing, which means they are fast drying. So check that soil often for the moisture levels. Don't water from above, like always. Wet leaves plus sun equals burnt or diseased leaves, which that's kind of debatable because I've read, I think it also depends on like how hot it is, how much direct sun it gets, because from what I was reading, it can also help increase photosynthesis. But the source for that is going to be Iowa State University Extension. So I would go to their website, take a look, and read about what they're talking about. Um, Keep the soil moist 6 inches deep. Shallow watering won't cut it for corn, which we are now. Sorry, I apologize. Corn is a heavy drinker, right? So corn is going to be needing 1.5 to 2 inches of water per week, especially during like tasseling and silking season. If water is inconsistent with your corn, you will end up with uneven kernels. So you want to make sure you're watering evenly. Um, and that's going to be it for like the fruits and vegetables and the corn and stuff like I have in my garden. Our next little topic is going to be about the flower beds that I have. Okay. So for most annuals and perennials, it's about 1 inch of water per week, right? Flowers don't really need too much. But flowers with shallow roots, like petunias or marigolds, may need a quick drink every 2 to 3 days in hot zones. A good tip is to stick your finger an inch into the soil. If it's dry, it's time to water. All right. So the next we got is now I have like a cheap like $10 moisture meter. Um, it helps me out so much, and I just use my my regular hose, and I just keep track of my moisture. I wasn't watering my grass or any of my stuff as much as I should have, because I didn't realize how much water was being evaporated in Arizona until I started doing a little bit more research and realized, like, oh, it's Arizona that's causing all of that. Now, again, whether you're growing cucumbers, corn, the goal is deep, consistent watering, and it's not daily surface sprinkles. Think slow and low like barbecue, which I'm a pretty good barbecue master if I have, but whatever. Not fast and frantic like fast food. Okay, remember you're there to grow a plant. You're not there to flip a burger and get somebody their food in like 60 seconds. You're growing it low and slow so that way it has all the time it needs to in order to become where it is, right? But that's going to end our garden talk segment. Again, I hope you guys enjoyed that. The next segment is going to be called the pet corner. Okay, and in the pet corner, we're going to ask: are we overfeeding our pets? Do you feed your pet too much? You got a chonky cat? Is it okay? Is it not okay? I don't care. So let's talk about something I think every pet owner struggles with at some point. How much is too much when it comes to feeding our furry friends, right? So it's like, I get it. Those eyes, the slow tail wag, the soft little meow. It's tempting to lose a few more treats, to toss a few more treats or top off the bowl. But overfeeding is actually one of the most common health issues in pets today. So according to the Association for Pet Obesity Prevention, as of their last study, 59% of cats and 55% of dogs are obese in the U.S. And that comes from petobesityprevention.org. So go check that out. Make sure you can. They're animals. You have to be the one that regulates their food, and you can't expect them to just know. So I have a husky and a cat, so I'm going to cover those two, right? So the first one is going to be the dog feeding tips, right? Obviously you want to stick to a routine because dogs thrive on a schedule. Free feeding, leaving food out all day can easily lead to weight gain unless you're controlling the portions in which they get per day, right? So if you're letting them free feed and you're letting them like eat the cup of food throughout the day, that's one thing. But again, you want to put them on a schedule, and if that's part of their schedule and routine, that's fine. So use the body condition score, the BCS, to check if your dog is a healthy weight. Ribs should be easy to see, to feel, but not see with a visible waist, right? There's actually some visuals that you can go and find online that give you an idea of like when the dog is getting bigger and when you should cut back on food. And you always want to make sure to cut back on the food when you can, especially if your dog is neutered. They don't or spayed. They don't need as much energy or food, and you should cut back a little bit. Use measured portions, not guesses. The WSAVA, the World Small Animal Veterinary Association, has a great resource with recommended feeding guidelines based on size and activity. That's WSAVA Nutritional Guidelines. You can go to their website and check it out. It's very helpful. Swap some high calorie treats for baby carrots, green beans, or even ice cubes. Because some dogs I love ice cubes, but it also helps them with their overall diet. Next, we're going to move on to the cat feeding tips. Okay, so cats are natural grazers, but that doesn't mean their bowls should always be full. Use puzzle feeders or slow feeding bowls to stimulate them mentally and slow their eating if they're eating too fast. Wet food can help control calories while help keeping your cat hydrated. So if you be mindful of portion sizes on that, by the way. Some cats will eat two or 3 cans if you let them. Like, they don't have any self-control. A study published in the Journal of Veterinary Internal Medicine showed that controlled feeding reduces obesity and helps reduce or prevent diabetes in cats. Okay, so you just want to make sure you're not causing problems for your cat unnecessarily. Avoid too many treats. Treats should make up no more than 10% of your cat's daily calories, right? So a few pieces of cooked chicken or fish can go a long way. My personal tip is love them, exercise them, play with them, make sure they're on a routine, make sure they know that you're there to provide for them. Gain your cat's respect mainly if you want your cats to give you actual attention, right? Overfeeding shortens our pets' lives. A chunky pup or cat, it might look cute to put on TikTok or YouTube and stuff like that, but real love is helping them live longer, healthier lives. Let's keep their hearts and hips happy. Okay, awesome. So that's going to end our pet corner segment of the daily sit down, and we're going to move directly into just whatever's on my mind. So what's on my mind today is the Superman trailer. I am so excited to see that movie. I don't know if anybody's watched it or anything like that, if they've seen the trailer, anything, but it looks so good. I'm a huge DC fan over Marvel. Marvel's fun and cool, but I am so ready for that DC movie. The Superman movie is gonna be great. Hopefully, with the news that we were reading earlier in the video, we actually will get a chance to see it, and it won't be, we won't be in martial law forever. But yeah. Again, Superman movie. And just to kind of recap everything we talked about, we read the PBS article about what was going on in the riots in the LA and the protests and the raids and all that kind of stuff, depending on where your stance is and how you see it. I personally see it as people standing up for their rights. I'm with the protesters 100%. We also talked about how much to water your garden and how much to feed your pets. I didn't really have too much to say because this is only supposed to be 30 minutes, and that first segment took a lot longer than I realized. But I do appreciate anybody who stuck around, liked, viewed for more than a minute. I really appreciate it. Again, we'll be doing this every day at 9:30. It's called the Morning Sit Down. My name is the Book of Joel, and thank you guys so much for coming by. I still actually have about a minute left in the live, so we'll just kind of hang out until it's ready. Oh, and if this part's for YouTube, by the way, if you like the video, subscribe. I don't know if I'm gonna do any kind of flare edits or anything on this one just yet. I might wait until I figure out how to set the show up, essentially. This was definitely a lot more structured than the last time we tried to do it. So hopefully we can continue to improve every day, just like how I do on my Stardew Valley videos. Again, thank you guys so much for stopping by. This was the Daily Sit Down with the Book of Joel.